Okay. So, starting off with generic questions. What's your full name?
Thomas Adamo Gonzalez,
And your
with a
current...
Z at the end.
The Z at the end? Alright. And what's your current age?
72.
Where did you live in Cuba?
Lived in two cities. One was in Havana. We had a couple of places in Havana. Then we moved to a small town called Wieners, and there we also had lived in a couple of places. Yeah.
Okay, so what social economic class were you and your family in at the time?
Don't forget middle class. I could say we were middle upper, but the middle class in Cuba was very vague. It didn't really exist, if you will.
So, what were living conditions like for your family, like versus someone else in Cuba?
There's always someone worse off than you were. Yeah, no, we didn't live extravagantly, but we lived well.
And how many people did you live with at the time?
Mom and Dad, Georgina and I, my
it?
sister and I.
Okay. And what were your you or your family's political affiliations at the time? Like, who were you for?
None. I never heard my parents speak politics.
Okay. So now we're scooting on to the 1 to 10 ratings. So 1 is low, 10 is high. Just kind of give me a number, whatever you think. So how appropriate do you feel was U.S. involvement in the Bay of Pigs?
See, that it was appropriate in the sense. See, I'm just going to talk this through.
No, that's
and
fine.
what they intended to do, but what they wanted to do and could have done versus what they did. So if you're looking at it from a results condition, it's a 1. If you look at it from the point of view that if they had won, it would have been good, it would have been an 8 or a 9. So am I making sense what I'm trying to tell you?
Yeah, so you feel that because of the outcomes, it kind of weighted differently.
So what does appropriate mean? A 5.
Okay. So how appropriate do you feel that Cuba was in the Cuban Missile Crisis?
What's the question again, please?
How appropriate do you feel that Cuba was during the Cuban Missile Crisis, like their actions?
I don't understand the question. What do you mean, how appropriate were they?
I mean, it's kind of the same as like the appropriateness of U.S. involvement. It's like the appropriateness of Cuba's actions during the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Okay. See, because for Cuba's sake, it was a 10. Fidel was nutty enough; he wanted missiles in there. But then, if I say highly appropriate, well, this guy's a comedy. A 3.
Well, I mean, it's your perspective.
I understand. No, it's just the wording.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
And if there are questions on here that you just want to dismiss, like, it's okay.
Say it again, please.
If there are any questions that you just don't like, or you like...
Oh, no, I'm just trying to understand and think it through, that's all.
It's okay. So still 1 to 10, how effective do you feel that communism is as a form of government?
Say it again.
How effective do you feel that communism is as a form of government?
If you look around you, it's a 1.
Okay. So still 1 to 10, how effective do you feel the July 26th movement was?
In accomplishing what they wanted to do, highly effective, obviously. That would be a 10.
Yeah. So how effective do you feel the Embargo Act is?
Embargo worked.
It worked?
Yeah, we'll get 8.
So 1 to 10 rating, how do you feel about the economic opportunity in Cuba?
A 2.
2. And economic opportunity in America?
Well, now you started flag waving. A 10. 10.
Yeah, I know.
I understand.
It kind of comes out that way.
Sure, I understand.
That's how a lot of my questions are, I'm kind of realizing. Okay.
Actually, I'm trying to help you, actually, because you're going to be asking other people the same thing, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, what it boils
I'm
down
not,
to is...
You know, I'm not knocking you, don't misunderstand.
Yeah, I
Okay,
understand.
fine.
Yeah, and I mean, what it boils down to is I'm just trying to see, like, to what extent the Cuban Revolution affected its citizens personally.
Understand.
So, I mean,
Okay.
whenever we study it, like, in
Sure.
class, you know, you look at the whole, like,
with you.
the government did this, but I want to see, like, what the people thought, you know?
Sure.
So now we're moving on to the political, personal questions. So now I understand you were probably very young at the time, like when all this was going on. Did you know anything about Castro?
Yeah, I was there during the revolution. Forget I came over at 15. So it was in the midst of the revolution.
Okay. So what did you know about Castro at the time?
At the time, everyone thought he was a savior. You know, so everybody wanted Batista out. So
Do you remember how you heard about Castro, or was it just like...
it was, yeah, with bombs going off and machine guns firing and all that kind of stuff. No, really, you know, I mean, that's, you learn about what's going on.
Fidel Castro, with all of your knowledge now, do you feel he's a liberator, a dictator, or just a rebel?
In a sense, he's all three. He liberated from Batista, but ruined the island. A dictator, obviously, won't allow free elections, and a rebel.
I mean, that question you can look at it so many
Dictator.
different... Dictator? Okay. Che Guevara, liberator or murderer?
He was obviously a murderer, but he was also, what's the word I want is a shrewd believer is the word I'm looking for. But anyway, go ahead. But yeah, definitely murderer.
What changes, if any, do you feel that Che was responsible for during that era? So like 53 to 62.
He was head of several departments, I think of banking, alcohol, and some others. Repeat the question, please.
What changes, if any, do you feel Che was responsible for?
He was part of shutting down free enterprise. So yeah, he was heavy on the changes, yeah. They took over a lot of the, like railroads, telephones, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah.
Okay. So same question, but different person. What changes, if any, do you feel that Castro was responsible for?
You see that bar of soap I showed you?
Yeah.
That's, you know, he ruined the nation.
Yeah. Okay, so this next one's kind of broad. Just like, tell me the story about you leaving Cuba. So like, who you went with, why, how, I guess.
It was, a lot of this is serendipitous because what happened was, like I said, I was about 15 and my mom came first. I don't know if due to the political situation or what. So then one day my dad asked if I wanted to go, we call it, the States was called it Norte, the North. If I wanted to go to Norte, yeah, hell yeah, you know. It's an adventure, you know.
Yeah.
It was just an adventure, I don't know. So I came over, and then Dad came over, I think the day before Castro took over. if there was any knowledge or anything that I've never known, I doubt it. I think it was just serendipitous.
So
And I came by myself.
you came by yourself. So really, like, did you ever ask, like, why you were going, or did you just like, yeah, let's do it?
When you're 15, type A personality, yeah, let's not talk about it.
You're like, whatever, let's do it.
Let's rock and roll. Yeah.
Okay. So now did you and your family, was it easy for you to just kind of go back and forth like that?
Say that again, please.
Was it easy for you to go to America?
Yeah. But before, he took over. Yeah. It was not a problem.
Had there ever been any issues before then with people, like, leaving Cuba? Like, before Castro took over? Or?
The intelligentsia, as always, in any major upheaval, political or whatever, they always leave first. Take the money with them and take everything they could with them. So yeah, there was, but it wasn't as visible as, when all these other problems came about. So, yeah, it was very low key.
Okay. The revolution was?
No, the people coming over.
Okay.
That was the question.
So as a 15-year-old boy, did you have any expectations for America?
My mother, don't forget, was Polish American. So I knew a lot, and through reading and all that, but I had no idea of America. Expectations? No, there's a book titled "Stranger in a Strange Land," and this is how I ended up being. No, I don't know.
What do you think, like, I guess right now I'm trying to ask about the differences in culture from America and Cuba. Like, what made it so strange to you? Was there anything that kind of just stuck out in your mind?
Yeah. Used to have machines. They used to give half a gallon of milk and a plastic carton.
In Cuba?
No, in the States.
Oh, in America, okay.
I don't know, it cost 25 cents, 50 cents, something like that. I was mesmerized by that when I came over. I could watch it by the hour. Watch this milk come down. Things like that, it's supermarkets. I've never seen a supermarket. Gobs of things. Everything was like, have you been to New York City yet? If you do someday, you're going to be, and that was me.
When you came to America, where did you go to?
Where did I go to?
Yeah, like, did you come to Miami? I think
No,
Georgina said.
I probably came into Miami and took a bus into Newark, I think. Because I don't recall landing in Miami and Mom getting me. So yeah, I believe that's what I did. Yeah.
Okay. Did you have any issues, like, transitioning into American culture at all?
I had some huge transitions and some easy ones. The easy ones were that I spoke the language because we spoke English in the house.
Okay.
So, and I read well. They had purchased a set of Encyclopedias Britannica. I can remember opening the box, the wooden box, and all these books and C to D. Ooh, let's see what that has to say. Oh, really? Oh yeah, it was like that was an open sesame moment. So in that sense, it was easy. But two things made it very large, very large change. One was, even though I knew the language, but I didn't know what was going on. I don't know if I'll clarify. In the sense, when you're raised in a neighborhood, you know the cool words, this, that, I'd have to go home and ask my mom what this meant, So like, was hanging out with, classic example, hanging out with some guys at school, because they put me in a junior high school, junior, 11th grade. And so we're in a circle talking. One guy goes, "Hey man, I got to go to the job." So as not to appear really stupid, you know, I knew what literally it meant, you know, but that's why I run into problems a lot, is that figuratively, I tend to take things literal. I go home and, "Hey mom, what does go to the John mean?" And she explained to me. I said, "Oh, yeah, yeah." So, and that was very difficult. It still is at times. It bites me sometimes. The classic example with Catholic. The word, again, I told you I know how to read, but the word Taffeta. You know, and you look in the dictionary, it has all these signs above it. I have no idea what those signs mean, you know. So there was this friend of Kathy's that was wearing this outfit. And so I go up to her and I rub the outfit and I say, "Is this taffeta?" And, you know, and the response that triggered it, that I know I've screwed up, and people say, "What?" And she says, "What?" So Kathy jumps in and he says, No, he means taffeta. He means taffeta. So yeah. But when someone says, "What?" I know, I mean, now I'm in trouble. So, and the other thing that was very difficult is that mom, for some reason, had moved into a neighborhood that was 100% Jewish. So, here comes this Cuban, Polish kid, you know, moving into a Jewish neighborhood. That was insanity, you know. And across the street from a shul, from a synagogue. What's going on? Where am I? You know, oh, really? That was funny as hell. It's hard to even contemplate what it's like to move into a Jewish neighborhood from Cuba and attend a school that's 99.9% Jewish. The only way we knew who were not was to go in during the Jewish holidays. Then, oh yeah, I know you. Okay, yeah. And then we knew that who wasn't Jewish. Other than that, it was all Jewish. That was very trippy. You know? This is just a funny aside, that in preparation for the new school year, you see a lot of these girls with tape all over the noses, you know, all the way this way. And there would be a bunch of them. And I said, so I'd ask a guy, "Hey, were they in fights or what?" He says, "No, they all got nose jobs for the summer." So yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
So, but no, that's, and then here I come from a country that invented bolero, the cha-cha, and you know, you've seen some of the videos, the music and all that, you know, to come into a Jewish 1950s. But anyway, so yeah, there was some easy stuff and there was some very difficult stuff.
So, did you find any stark differences between like just the conditions, just in general, of Cuba versus America? Like,
Oh, of course. Even though Cuba was very advanced, we had, example, we would have the cars of that year, we'd have them in Cuba the next day. You know? So in that sense, we had the first TV channels, we had the first colored TV channels, we had the first telephones, we had, and blah, the list goes on and on. So in that sense, we were very advanced. But no, there were a lot of things, like I say, that were different. You know, like I told New York, like I told you about that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So did you ever go back to Cuba after?
Yeah,
leaving?
I went back a couple of times, and then I went back with my brother Ed. You know.
So there was no like harshness that you felt towards Cuba or anything after leaving?
No. I was, that's where I was raised, you know, so, no, it's not Cuba that did it.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So did you go back to like visit family or?
When I went back by my, alone, yeah. And one time, the secretary at the school, her and her husband were going down there, and anyways, yeah, so, and then the last time with Ed, we wanted to go in the town where we lived and all of that, so, yeah.
I mean, those are all the questions I have. Are there any like anecdotes you could tell me about, just from like?
Like what? I'm sorry, what was the question?
Are there any just like little stories you want to tell?
Stories?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Stories. We used to have Christmas Eve get-togethers. It was, they called it a good night, Noche Buena, and then Navidad. But families would get together and they would roast the pork for the evening. You know, put the coals all on the ground and have the pork on top and blah, blah, blah. And the rice and bean and the rum and all of that. Yeah, that was a rather fun-filled affair. Enjoyed Noche Buena. That was cool. There's a sect, religious sect, that are Afro-Cuban, which is a lot of the music from Cuba comes from, you know, due to the Afro-Cuban influence. And they had their religious idols. And somewhere, I was hoping Johanna's ex-husband would have come, but I'll tell you why when we get to it. But used to have religious holidays, you know. They would hold, like, during the morning, they would have the affair at church with the saint, and the saint, you know, people would be carrying it with the band behind it. But at night, it would be in the black neighborhood where it was all full of flowers and, you know, and people just, they call it a bembe, B-E-M-B-E. What would happen to the African drums, if you ever see some, the original drummers, they were like narrow in the center and expanded outwards, and it would be beat like this. You know? So this was, then they'd have like the priest is came out dressed in white. He was all dressed in white, man. And when I say the rum, it was flowing, man. Yeah, gee whiz. And the thing is that it's mesmerizing, because it was man, yeah. And then, you know, people would be getting up, and then suddenly, sometimes, this lady will fall to the ground, man. Holy cow, you know, they said, what did she have? She had not an attack.
It was like touched
Oh,
by
the saint. She had as a saint. Tiene Santo, you know. Oh, her Johanna, one of Johanna's ex-husband is a santero, the guy that dresses in white. And I thought, guy's freaky. But anyway, I was hoping he'd be here. Oh yeah, I was hoping he'd be here. You guys don't see a santero. But then they say, oh no, she got a santo. Oh man. So then they get white handkerchiefs and start doing this on her and this and that. Somebody will blow smoke on her and all that kind of stuff. Oh yeah. And when you're 12 and 13, you're like, what the hell is going on here? So, cute as an aside story, my first wife, while we were in Miami, let me give you a little background. My first wife was from Middle America. She was from Lorain, Ohio. Very Middle America, Irish background. And, but she had adapted slow but sure. And so we were invited to some middle upper group of people to a dinner dance at their house, So, it so happens that Kathy's, two of my first wife's cousins came down to visit my first wife. And they came with us. And so the party was doing good, we were having a great time. And to lunch, this damn Cubans, one of the girls drops to the ground.
Oh, no.
And everybody, oh, it's Santo, Santo. And everybody starts bringing handkerchiefs. And I was having a great time. But my wife's cousin freaked out. Freaked out. We are going out of here. This is horrible. What's going on here? Again, you have to think middle America.
Yeah.
They never seen anything like this. Somebody dropping to the ground.
Get the
And
handkerchiefs.
and everybody waving handkerchiefs on. It's Santo, it's Santo. It's Santo. So anyway, just little stories.
I think you were telling me once, I think the last time we were here, you and I and Mom and somebody else were sitting out on the balcony, and you talked about these little, like, kind of altars or, like...
Kind of what?
Like shrines or something you'd see on the side of the road.
Yeah, that was, growing up, that was really common. And that was part of Santeria, the Africa. We'd be down the road, you'd see corn kennels, you'd see a rooster with red and white cloth tied, with his throat cut, and you'd see goats with a throat cut. It wasn't roadkill, it was Santeria. So when that started happening in Miami, Miami just went insane on that one. What is this? So maybe now they have an area like, they have like dog walks. Maybe they have a santero walk so they can do all their animal stuff. I don't know. But I don't know.
Did you, so whenever you moved with your parents and everything, did you like bring Cuban traditions with you? Like, did you do anything like that when you moved here?
Of course I brought Cuban traditions with me, but they mostly got me in trouble.
Such as?
Again, 1950s America, Jewish. You know what a Jap is? It's an
Japanese?
expression, a Jap.
Yeah, it's like a derogatory way of saying no.
It means a Jewish American princess called Japs.
I didn't know that.
So now you do. Yeah. Again, it's the. You ever watch that show? Oh my God. It was an advertising firm, I guess, in the 50s and the 60s. What's it called? But anyways, it was. And, I brought them all, and I still have them here. Here's the good, so you and now this can understand me a little better. There's always been a chasm in me, right? In the sense of, like if we're speaking English, and I say a word, want to know something in Spanish, I have to stop, jump over to the other side, work in Spanish, and then back to here. This has always existed. And how did I get onto that is the reason. But sometimes they come together in very strange ways. So, I have a cousin, had a cousin, that he committed suicide after, I don't know, a year or two in the States because he couldn't handle the land of plenty. So, because again, think that bar of soap, and he couldn't handle it. It was too much,
Just just shocking to him, or?
Yeah, and he was an adult, that's the thing too, he wasn't a kid. Kids adapt. But again, imagine someone who had nothing to walk into a Publix. So he didn't handle it at all.
Do you think that a lot of people had that issue, just like transitioning as adults?
Oh yeah. And if you were to, I would pretty much guarantee you that if you speak with anyone who came over, be a boat lift, be a whatever. Yeah, of course. This is, there's just no comparison.
I mean, I think that's really interesting because, I mean, I have such a different perspective because I feel like if I were to go from nothing to everything, I would be like ecstatic or whatever. Like, what do you think was kind of going through their mind that made it so overwhelming, or, I mean, like, that brought them to that
To go
point?
from nothingness to everything is. They start the government, start to set you up, get you going, gives you an apartment or whatever, and then you're on your own, you go hustle, you know. So, no, Cubans are known for we were, in a good way, we were called the Jews of Latin America, Latin and South America. So about the way we did things and how, take it as a whole, you know, and yeah, because if you look at Cuba and all the other nations, they were way behind us. So, but even then, you know, to come here, it's like it's big time change. You know? And for someone who comes as an adult, who has a career, comes over and doesn't speak the language, you know, stressed because of the family, you know, and having to work 2 or 3 jobs and blah, 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 you know, it's tough.
Okay, so it became like,
Pardon?
so now I'm understanding a little bit better. That makes sense.
Yeah, it was difficult for the adults. You know? But no, for a teenager, whoa, love it. Man, because that was the beginning of rock and roll, 1950s.
I was actually, this is a little off subject. I like to listen to NPR on the radio, and they were talking about Cuban rock and roll and how that's kind of starting up
Yeah,
again.
it's a new thing. But it's slow but sure. So.
It kind of, I don't know, it reminded me of, oh gosh, if I get these facts wrong, Mr. Sheets is going to kill me. We did a huge thing on the Cold War last year, like a big symposium the IB program put on.
Yeah, no, your mom showed me the picture.
Yeah, I think I sent, did
Oh,
I send you?
you sent me.
Yeah, I sent you pictures of it. But,
Did she ask you the question that I asked her to ask you?
What'd she ask?
No.
Oh, no.
I asked her, I said, just so you would be impressed with your mom. I asked her to say, oh, is that Fat Boy? Just to see what you would say.
Who's Fat Boy? Oh, no, don't look at me like
The
that.
what?
Who's Fat Boy?
You don't know who Fat Boy is? Work out your thing here. That will shut up the recorder.
Yeah, let me.